Hour number 2, McElroy and Cubelic underway. Still a lot of college football to get to. We'll discuss it with Steve Robertson, who covers Mississippi State, here in just a moment. Also, just kind of get his thoughts on this coaching search happening at Auburn right now, because Steve has covered multiple with John Cohen as the athletic director. So maybe get a little bit of an idea inside of his brain as to what he thinks, where things are going, how that's going to operate. Before we get to any of that, though, G-Mac, tell our listeners about Shannara Flooring.
Well, Fu and his guys have continued to deliver an amazing experience for his customers. He has 50,000 square feet of CoreTech flooring by Shaw in stock right now. That is a beautiful type of flooring that comes with a 20 mil wear layer. It's built to last and priced to move, and nobody in town has the CoreTech that Fu has. He's got savings of 20 to 40% that he can pass on to you. It's a deal you just can't touch. So remember Shannara Flooring. When you want CoreTech, call who? Call Fu. Call him today at 205-518-6423 or go online at fuandyou.com.
All right, Steve Robertson joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, covers the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Steve, first, let's start with this game against Georgia this weekend. Does it help? I know this is going to sound crazy at first, but I think you'll know where I'm going here, because they had been so close for so long to ending that SEC losing streak. Does the win last week help, or does it actually work against Jeff Lebby and his staff heading into this game against Georgia this weekend?
Sure, how much impact it really has. I mean, I think a lot of people forget, you had that big come from behind win over Arizona State where you won in the last moment. And so they ought to be very familiar with these situations. Coach Smart talked about that on Monday, about his team just doesn't flinch in those situations. They don't get uncomfortable. And I think that's where State maybe has a little bit of a disadvantage, because they haven't handled a lot of those end-of-game scenarios well. But if I had to make a choice, I would say it helps them just to kind of get over the hump and get that SEC losing streak off their shoulders. I mean, that's all anybody's talked about these last several weeks.
When you look at last week, though, it feels like at least all season they've been very, very close in so many games. Finishing has been the challenge. So I think now that they've finished, maybe they've solved the problem. So is it something that you think can be carried over, knowing that the elephant is no longer on their back?
Certainly hope so. I think that's you got to teach some kids how to win. And I think that's one of the things that Lebby and this group have kind of struggled with is, you can go out there and you get that 17-0 lead, and all of a sudden you're biting your nails and trying to hang on. And once you've done it against an SEC opponent, I think there is a sense of relief, maybe where you kind of crack that glass ceiling in some respects, like, okay, yeah, we are capable of doing this, and you get confidence in each other. And when you go back and look at Anthony Evans' game against Arkansas, he didn't have a good first half, and so it's kind of rewarding for him that he's the guy that makes that play at the end to win the game. And this is a big game for him. As a former Georgia Bulldog, having the year that he's having when he was very much underutilized in Athens, and now he's got Georgia coming here to his own backyard. I'm eager to see how he handles the emotions of this one.
We're talking with Steve Robertson, who covers the Mississippi State Bulldogs ahead of their matchup against Georgia this weekend. When you look at this offense, every time I leave the film on Sunday, Steve, I'm thinking to myself, man, there are 3 or 4 shot plays that were there, and then they just missed. I know Lebby and his guys are going to basically say, hey, there's going to be a couple of those a game. Has he said anything specific about kind of where they are with finding more of these, correcting a few of these misses? How can potentially more of those show up this weekend against Georgia?
Yeah, that's a great question, because you go back and you think about the road trip to Florida. I mean, you had Brennan Thompson wide open on a post that would have allowed you to get some separation in that game. And, I think that's some of the things that Lebby and those guys are going to live with a little bit, but you'd like to see a little more consistency with that. And some of that's been on Blake. I mean, some of that's not getting the ball out on time, not in rhythm, and other times it's been the receiver itself. But there's enough blame to go around for some of those. But I've noticed a lot of those things happen early in ball games. Maybe not so much later in the game, but early in ball games when State's had a chance to put distance between them and their opponents, they have struggled consistently hitting those shots down the field. And there have been times that Brennan's been open, or Anthony, or even Jordan Mosley, and Blake's either overthrown him or the receiver hadn't made the play. And so I don't know if there's any consistency with it, other than the fact that early in ball games when State has an opportunity to put some distance and maybe quiet a crowd. They haven't been able to do that.
When you look at the defense, there's been progress made. There's still a disruptive group. There's still a group that might have some limitations from a depth standpoint. What do you make of the matchup against an offense that I think is very good and is committed to running the football, but does have some playmakers on the outside?
Yeah, everybody acts like this Georgia team's not good. They're really, really good. And you could make the argument they should probably be undefeated. Now, they're not as dominant as they have been. And I think, not having Colby is a part of, maybe the growth pains with this team this year. But, with Zachariah out there running around, I don't know if State's faced anybody quite like him. They've had some big X's. I mean, you got, Brazel and Jordan Tyson and those guys. I mean, they faced some outside receivers. I don't know that they faced anybody quite like Branch. And so I'm eager to see how they defense him. But I think one of the main things you have to do with this thing is you've got to slow down the running game, and you can't let Gunnar Boykin beat you in the red zone as a runner. I think you've got to account for him. And I thought last week they did some interesting things, kind of spying Taylor Green. Nave Sanders is a guy that had the big play late, and he was a guy that was kind of a late entrant into the defense in the second half. And so I think you kind of live and learn as you go through these ball games. But I like this Georgia team, and I know there's not a lot of hype around them, and there probably should be a little bit more. But, State's going to have their hands full with them. But I think it's going to be similar to what we've seen in recent weeks with around this league, where every game goes down to the fourth quarter, and I don't think this is going to be an exception.
I'm with you. It's been so fun to watch how hard that defense plays, how their guys get after it offensively, the receivers downfield trying to find a block, guys breaking tackles, and you would just think mentally and emotionally they'd be done 3-4 weeks ago with how close they had been so many different times. I want to turn the page, though, Steve, and go down a different road with you. John Cohen is now hiring another football coach at Auburn. You have covered multiple coaching hires in multiple sports from his days at Mississippi State. Just from a distance looking at this one, do you have thoughts on his direction or where he might want to go, just based on what you've covered from him in the past?
Well, the one thing that I'll say about Cohen's hires is there's never going to be the emotional hire. There's never going to be like, this guy just won a big ball game last week and everybody on social media is talking about him, so let's go hire that guy. That's never going to happen, not in any sport. John's a very analytical guy, almost to a fault. He really believes in the analytics. And, we hired Hugh Freeze, and I've seen some people make some comments kind of beating John up for that. That was one of the more obvious hires, I think, in recent years. It just didn't work out. I mean, everybody thought that Hugh Freeze would be back in the Southeastern Conference as a head coach at some point, and Auburn pulled the trigger on it. It just simply didn't work out. And it's not that Auburn didn't support him. It's not they didn't have an infrastructure out there to help him with the portal and player acquisition. They certainly did, and arguably one of the most competitive in the country. It just didn't work out offensively. And I think that's really the question mark with this Hugh Freeze thing. But kind of looking forward, John's not going to rush the process, but John's a guy that's going to work through, and I hope he doesn't have paralysis by analysis. And I know that's a cliche that's out there, but sometimes the right guy is right there, and maybe it doesn't line up perfectly, but you got to go make the fit. You got to go find an Auburn man. And I think that's one of the things maybe in the last couple of hires, even dating back, to Harsin, I think that they struggled with that aspect of it, finding somebody that truly fits the Auburn family and that Auburn fan base. And I think John gets that aspect of it. And, I don't think it's going to be James Franklin. I know a lot of people have talked about that. We'll see. I think Franklin is going to get a job somewhere, and I think he deserves one. I don't think you can really argue against that. But, John is going to be very methodical in this process. And one of the things that he told me, and I won't say what sport it was in, but he said, had he ever went and watched that coach facilitate a practice, he would never have hired him. And he goes, I will never hire another coach that I haven't seen lead a practice. Because there was supposed to be a 10-minute water break. It turns into a 20-minute ordeal, and so I think that's an important aspect of this team, because people forget about, we got to go coach football. It's not just about winning press conferences and and spending somebody else's money in the portal. You got to be able to go lead people. You got to be able to facilitate a practice and put a system and a culture together. And I think that's the real challenge. But I think if you're Auburn, you've got so much to sell. I think you're going to be in a good position when it's all said and done.
So when you think about that need to watch the practice, like to watch the practice, all stuff like that, not that you've gone and watched all these practices, but what do you think are some of those characteristics that he's looking for? You think organizational, competitive temperament? Is it more organizational, or we put more of a premium on recruiting? Like, what do you think are going to be the most important values that he goes after when trying to target a candidate?
Well, I'll tell you two examples, Mike Leach and Chris Jans, Statesman's basketball coach. And one of the things that he said about Mike Leach that was completely different than everybody else is he said those guys never stop in practice. They never, ever stop in practice. He said, your water break is when you're waiting for your next rep. It's not we're going to facilitate all this craziness and everybody's just going to stop and we're going to, stand around forever. You go run your rep, you get to the back of the line, there's somebody with the water crew giving you some water right there. And if you need a blow, you need a blow. But there was no wasted time in practice with Mike Leach. And it's the same with Chris Jans. And that's one of the things John said that he really admired about Chris Jans is that he got the most out of his practices. But everybody got reps, everybody got instruction. It wasn't just, hey, let's just go do 2-line layup and scrimmage the rest of the day and call it a day. That there was actual teaching involved and game planning. And I think that's the biggest part of this. And you guys know from playing the game, players want to be coached. And I think historically at Mississippi State, we've had some guys that maybe haven't been coached as well. And you bring in a guy like Dan Mullen, who was a fantastic football coach, maybe not the best of recruiters, but he got the most out of his guys and made Mississippi State, a team that a lot of people are really proud of. And I think with John, that's really what you're looking for is you're looking for a great coach and not necessarily just a guy that knows how to use the system. Because at the end of the day, when it's 4th and goal on the 1 in Tuscaloosa, it's not going to matter how much money somebody gave you. It's can you find a way to get the ball in the end zone? And I think those are the kinds of people John Cohen's looking for.
It's going to be interesting to see. Does he have a tendency to overthink, overanalyze? Is that something that you would tell Auburn fans maybe you need to be wary of?
I think at times, but I think, people forget, like John left here, made some really good hires before he left. I mean, Sam Purcell obviously was women's basketball coaching hire, done really well. Chris Jans was a good one, but early on, I think that when you look back at the Joe Moorhead situation, and nothing against Joe, because Joe was listed as the top coordinator in the country, according to some publications. They'd won the Big Ten under James Franklin, and I think with Dan leaving and having some advance notice that Dan was leaving, because Dan told Dr. Keeneman Cohen basically midway through the year, this is the year that I'm going to take a job. They had plenty of time, and I think John maybe wanted to get Joe hired, because it was like just days later, right? They announced that Mullen's leaving, and you've got to hire. And I think some of that was to kind of demonstrate we're going to be fine. But I think in that situation, it was a little bit overanalyzed. And you're trying to go out there and say, hey, if we're going to go 7-5, 8-4, we can probably do it with less salary. Kind of find out that's not true. But I think John has learned from every hire, and I think it's only going to get better. Until you've done it, you don't know if you've got the skill set to do it. But I'm not worried about John Cohen making a good hire at Auburn. I think John will make a good hire. And the SEC needs Auburn to be good. We do. And I think the health of this league is kind of dependent on this hiring cycle. And I'm a little worried about that because not necessarily specifically with Auburn, but I think there's a possibility you could have as many as 8 first-year coaches in the league next year if the cards fall just right. And I don't think it's a good thing for our league.
All right. We really appreciate it, Steve. Great stuff helping us kind of break all this down, including the game, actual football going to be played, and then, of course, maybe how Auburn fans should be viewing John Cohen in this Auburn coaching search. Good to catch up. Thanks so much. Enjoy the football weekend.
See you, bud.
Steve Robertson joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline talking Mississippi State and little John Cohen with the Auburn coaching search. Is there anything that should make Auburn fans nervous there? Have them on edge, Greg? Or does it give you a little more confidence as to maybe what John Cohen does put into coaching searches he's been involved with before?
It gives me a little confidence. Like he's a coach. He knows what it's supposed to look like. I mean, I don't know if you could ever feel super confident because regardless of what the circumstances are, like you're always curious because it's fit, it's support, it's alignment, it's people endorsing the hire, who all's involved. That is all a real question mark. And it doesn't mean that John Cohen's not qualified to make those decisions. He absolutely is. It's just a matter of whether or not he's going to have the full support of those that are also involved in the hiring process. So that's my big question. Is not so much that he'll hire a good candidate. It's just whether or not everyone else will agree that it's a good candidate.
There you go. All right, we'll get back to more game previews on a Max Ball Friday next, right here on Jocks. All right, more Max Ball Friday coming your way, 8/19, Friday, November 7th, right here on Jocks. West Alabama 5-2 after that 2-week break where they go out and drop a game at Valdosta State last week. They've got Lincoln at home this weekend. That'll be 1 o'clock, Military Appreciation Day over in Livingston. Going to get to more games and those previews. You have to wait for that, but one thing you never have to wait for, GMAC, is your dental care.
That's because Family Dental has you taken care of at the Urgent Care Office. You can be seen the same day in several locations to make it easy on you in Hoover, Fultondale, Homewood, Alabaster, and Trussville. They can get you on Fridays and Saturdays. Most insurance plans are accepted, and they can see patients of all ages. So call them today for an appointment. 874-9605. That's Family Care Dental. 874-9605.
All right, let's focus in just a little bit on one game that I don't think a lot of people see getting sideways, and that is 11 a.m. tomorrow morning on Fox. Indiana's at Penn State. Indiana 9-0, number 2 team in the nation. I said last week, Greg, watching the Ohio State game, the Penn State front seven actually caused some problems early. Now, wasn't something that you felt like really is going to continue throughout 4 quarters, but that group, when you watch them against different opponents this year, has been disruptive. It's just that they're not getting a lot on offense, and the dam seems to break a little bit later in the game for that group. Can they be more, or do you think probably less problematic against this Indiana offense?
I think that it's going to be a problem for them in this game. Do you see it similarly? Like, I don't love the matchup for Penn State at all.
No, because the one thing I look at is the movement and the different things that they're doing. It almost plays into the RPO game of Indiana. I don't know if it plays into the direct run game. It can, and Indiana's actually been really good in short yardage. So they put D linemen in on offense, and they find their way. But I think if it turns into maybe a straight drop back game, that possibly could be an issue for Indiana. But other than that, no, I don't really see that continuing.
So if that's not the case, how confident are you in them being able to manufacture points against an Indiana defense that can create some disruption? I think they'll have a hard time being able to disrupt the rhythm of Fernando Mendoza. I think they will potentially try to sell out and stop the run, knowing that Elijah Surratt's been a little banged up the last couple weeks, probably not at 100%. So I think they will do a pretty good job in trying to stop the run, but will it matter? Because I don't know if they're going to manufacture enough offense.
Okay. I'm with you there.
What do you think?
I don't think that we should spend too much more time talking about it because it's a 14.5-point spread, and I think Indiana covers it. And so it doesn't feel like it's one that's going to be very exciting. We just mentioned Georgia and Mississippi State with Steve Robertson. We haven't really given our thoughts on this game and how it potentially could go. Georgia on the road early. You wonder if that helps with the environment just a little bit. Is Davis Wade going to be rocking at 11 a.m.? Is it going to take them a little while to get going? If you're State, you probably love to have this game at night. That would help a little bit more. I always think the early game favors the road team just a little bit. The balance offensively for Georgia is what I like about this football team. You can go quarterback run if you need to. He's been able to hit shots down the field. The quick game's going to be there, screen heavy at times. I said last week, I think they need to get away from some of the screen game here because of how aggressive Mississippi State is on defense, specifically with how well their corners attack and tackle. Misdirection does need to be key, though. With how Georgia's been in pass pro and a pressure-laden group, especially in different ways. I don't want you to live in the drop-back game here, but I keep coming up with ways that State can be problematic. It's just I think in my brain, Greg, I don't know how consistent those problems can be across the course of this game. Can it be enough to have this game, let's say, close in the middle of the fourth quarter, in your opinion?
Yes. I expect this game to be close from the get-go. You see it the same way?
I think there are parts of it that can be problematic for sure. I do. Like I said with Steve Robertson, though, and remember, I also said this about the Auburn defense a couple weeks ago, and it hasn't really happened yet. Like, I kind of expect that Auburn defense to run into a wall, getting almost no offensive support and just not being able to continue what they've been doing. But they're playing so many numbers, I think it's benefiting them. State, I don't think is playing as many numbers. I concern myself with when do they hit that wall? Because this team's been playing their rear ends off now for what, 5-6 straight weeks?
Yeah,
and finally you get a win. Do you exhale a little bit after that win last week? It's my only concern. And that staff's been able to get them going for almost every other game, so it probably shouldn't be concerned, but it's human nature.
For sure.
But it's also Georgia. You're also back at home again. So everything plays into them showing up for this game. It does. Other than just your brain would tell you it can't keep being what it's been and play into that level from an intensity and an effort standpoint.
It does. Your brain would tell you that, but it's also Georgia. You got Kentucky coming to town or someone like that. I could understand taking your foot off the gas. That's human nature. I have a hard time thinking they take the foot off the gas against Georgia.
I don't think they take it off. I'm with you. I think this game's competitive. And if they hit a couple of those shot plays that we referenced that they've been missing, specifically early in games, I think you got a chance to potentially pull off a big upset. You're going to need a lot of things to go their way, though. Going to need Gunnar Stockton to make a lot of mistakes, and he hasn't done that a lot this year.
No.
What do you make of Stockton's game overall? Because I think he's vastly underrated. I don't think he gets near enough credit for how he's played this year.
I think he is as underrated as there is a player in the country. Seriously. Like, I don't say that lightly either. Like, I think he is that underrated. Now, are there things that he can maybe do a bit better? Sure. But I think as far as just managing the game, playing the game, understanding when to take chances, when not to take chances, when they need him to make a throw, he makes a throw. I think he's more capable passer than any of us would have thought coming into the season. I also really like how opportunistic he's been with his legs. Like, he's not a guy that immediately first reaction, take off and run. And sometimes with guys that are good runners, that's their first reaction. And that is not really him. So I'm very impressed with him. I think he's a great player and has been one of the real pleasant surprises of this season so far.
Having a good year, for sure. All right, so with 9.5, you lean Mississippi State there?
Yes.
All right, there you go. So Mississippi State, Georgia. I probably would take the points with State at home in that one as well. We mentioned BYU and Texas Tech a little bit earlier with Stanford Steve. I'm intrigued from you, the aspects of this game that you're paying closest attention to. Like, where do you think this game is decided?
Isn't it always the line of scrimmage? Like,
Not in the Big 12.
Is there ever? I know, but it feels like in this one especially, it's like all the way line of scrimmage. No,
from a BYU perspective, yes,
it has to be.
I don't know if I would say as much Texas Tech, but from BYU's perspective, going against that defensive line, yeah, I think that would probably be job number one, is to secure the line of scrimmage specifically when you're on offense. If that gets away from you, I think you're in trouble.
I think if you can't run the ball outside the tackles, like I think it starts there, getting them running horizontal, getting them running side to side, and then starting to gash them with quarterback run off of their side to side action, because BYU wants to run perimeter run game. Like, that's what they love to do. So it's not that surprising that Texas Tech is a heavy favorite, because I think it's a bad matchup for BYU. I do. But at the same time, BYU is a very tough team to pick against because they seem to rise and fall with the level of competition. Now, this will be by far their biggest test. Texas Tech's roster is no joke. I know a lot of people in this part of the country will look at Texas Tech and say, oh, they're just Texas Tech. I'm telling you, their personnel is different now. Like, that team would be very competitive in the SEC. I believe it. The one question I have, too, though, is BYU. This will be the best passing attack they've seen. There's a lot of different weapons. I think BYU could do a pretty good job limiting the big plays, but do you think they can apply pressure to Baron Morton? Do you think they can get home?
I think they can. I don't know if it'll be consistent, but yeah, I think so. I don't love the Texas Tech offensive line. I think the right guard plays hard. It feels very air raidish in technique, which is kind of how they operate and the technique and fundamentals that they use, and I always feel like that's easily gettable. Now, if the ball's getting out quick, it's not. And I'm not saying that's the system that they run, but just the way in which they operate, it's very upright. It's not as low pads coming off the ball on a regular basis, which when you're in 3-point stance all the time, or 2-point stance all the time, it's hard to do that anyway. But yeah, I just think that there are parts of that group that are gettable. And it's the aspect of that team that people kind of refuse to talk about. I don't know if that's just it's not an emphasis point with them because of how they operate, but I don't think you have to be great up front to be able to cause problems with that group. So I do think it's possible, but also I think some are going to be by design of how quarterbacks handle it when that ball is getting out, and then how much they try to live on the ground. We'll designate all of that. But listen, I've been riding BYU all year. I'm not going to go off them now. I understand the environment's going to be tough. Once again, early should probably help a little bit. But I think BYU physically is going to hold up. I think they're going to be okay in this game. Outside of emotional swings, turnovers, things of that nature, I would definitely take them plus 11.5 here. And I would feel really good about it. I think it's too many points, but that's just me.
I'm on the other side there. I'm laying them. I think BYU has been, I'm not saying fool's gold. That's not fair. but I don't think they're as good as the record might indicate. I don't think they're as good as some of the teams that are playing at the top of the sport. And honestly, like, I think, and maybe I'm nuts for thinking it, I think Texas Tech is capable of playing at the top of the sport. Like, I really believe that. So I don't know, man. I just don't love the matchup for BYU. I don't think they'll be able to run the football.
But if not, they're in trouble, like we said. So that one's going to be 11 a.m. on ABC. More out of the Big Ten, more out of the SEC. How many of these higher-ranked teams should be on alert? We got a couple top 25 matchups that we're going to begin to get to right here on a Max Ball Friday next on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. It is 8:34, Friday, November 7th. Games that you want to hit, 800-239-9569. You can get in. Conversations you want to have about those games, you can do that right here on a Max Ball Friday. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Jolly tweeting in, Bama has a rough stretch in November. Auburn and LSU are wounded animals playing with no pressure. Sooners need to win to keep any hope of playoffs alive. Alabama can't have an FSU SC performance or they're going to get caught. Can't be slipping. Do you buy into that, GMAC?
Yeah, I think you absolutely cannot take your foot off the gas right now. Absolutely not. While it might look like on paper you got a decent advantage against everyone else remaining on your schedule, you still have to acknowledge that you played just a week ago against a team that's really good or really average based on their schedule and went down to the wire with South Carolina. Granted, on the road for sure, and a lot tougher situation, but the gap right now between the best teams and the worst teams are not that significant. You got to be careful with everyone you play, and you got to have the utmost respect for everyone you play. So, no, I wouldn't mess around with anybody. I think you got to play great down the stretch. Keep this momentum going.
All right, into the YouTube chat, Kenneth comments, what about Jeff Lebby for Auburn's next coach?
You tell me.
I thought Jeff was going to be, if you needed to go to a reach last time, like if you fell down the ladder and couldn't get guys you wanted, would have been a great hire then. I don't think it'd be a bad hire now. The one thing about it that I will say is I do think the direction needs to be a little bit different this time. I think a lot of Auburn fans' patience has worn thin with the new offensive creative guy. Even though his personality is not near some of the others that we've talked about, he has a totally different personality. People don't realize that, know that. They see his offense and they just think that he's, quirky offensive guy. Like Jeff's a football guy. He put his hand in the date. So it's just not his mentality. Ross responds, is Auburn really going to be happy hiring a guy that has one SEC win against a bad Arkansas team? Yeah, I don't think that people look at Jeff's tenure as that and define him by that and say that that's who he is. Jack also tweeting into the show, Auburn should hire Butch Jones.
Butch Jones.
Yeah, that's a no. I'm just going to say that's a no. Butch is a really nice guy, but that's not for the Auburn job. That's a no. Sorry. I'm not going to go there. I don't think that should happen. If you're looking to go to a new home, though, you should go to the Gusty Goulas Group. Why? Served more than 3,000 home buyers and sellers in the greater Birmingham area. Since 2012, Gusty Goulas Group recognized both nationally and locally as Greater Birmingham, Alabama's #1 team in homes sold. You can trust Gusty's aggressive and proven selling system. He's got what it takes to attract hundreds of qualified buyers who want your home. Over 850 5-star Google reviews. Call 205-542-1996 today or go to GustyGoulasGroup.com and start packing. All right, let's go to a couple other games then, since the Auburn coaching search has gotten nonsensical in the comments and tweets. 2:30 on ABC, Texas A&M is at Mizzou. Weather calls for 62, so feels like an unseasonably nice day potentially there in Como. Biggest concern for me is what you're going to get at quarterback for Missouri. How much offense are you really going to be able to unleash against a defense that can absolutely attack, absolutely disrush, and be a complete problem up front? They are disruptive. Now, there are answers in the Missouri offense for that, Greg. It's just with a limited passing attack behind those answers, I think your team becomes limited. And multiple teams have proven this year that they can sort of keep Ahmad Hardy in that rush game in check. I think Missouri's defense can be more of a problem for A&M than people believe. I just don't think they can score enough to go win this game. And we know A&M is going to give you a couple of explosives per half, not just per game, but per half. And I think that ends up being a little bit too much for Mizzou at home.
I think Missouri is going to struggle to contain all the weaponry. There's just so much weaponry on this team. I have so much respect for the amount of speed and takeover guys they have. But at the same time, man, I still recognize that Missouri's got a disruptive front. I think Missouri can create some negative yardage. I think Missouri's pretty good in the back end. Missouri's got to win this game on defense, I think. I think they're going to have a hard time manufacturing a ton of points against this A&M defense, because I think this A&M defense will probably calm things down a bit, knowing it's a freshman quarterback, and they probably don't want to give away any freebies. So I could see them calming it down a touch. Do you see them calming it down, or do you think they stay with the ramp it up stuff?
They might have to ramp it up. I mean, how the game's going is going to depend on that and determine that.
Well, of course.
I think it comes down to, is your quarterback more comfortable? How many coaches do we hear say, we got to pick up the tempo a little bit? He's just more comfortable there because the decision-making becomes a little bit more limited and there's not as much thinking. Thought process goes into it. So I think it could. I don't feel like we've seen Missouri really be a lot of that this year at all. And they have in the past. Drink has been in the past. Kirby Moore knows it. He can do it. I just don't feel like that's been kind of what they are. If you'll watch them, it's really interesting when they kind of huddle up. They don't really huddle, but when they wait to get the call and then go line up more so, Like, watch the tight end, specifically Norfleet. He stands like 2 yards behind the quarterback, and the quarterback obviously is back behind the offensive line, and he won't go line up until after everybody else goes to their spots. And I actually haven't asked Eli about this yet. I think they're kind of trying to hide strength. You're obviously not hiding personnel because people can just look and say, okay, there's a tight end right over there. Like, well, this is 12. We know. But trying to, like, save his alignment for last. So I guess the defense can't get a jump. It's probably play clock dictated also because you don't want the D coordinator to be able to communicate, okay, hey, strength is to the left here or strength into the boundary. So they line him up a little bit later than everybody else. It's kind of a cool little ploy that Missouri's brought out this year.
There's a bunch of stuff that they have that I like. Like, there's a handful of things that I think are really good that they have. But Norfleet's availability is significant. Like, he's the one that makes him a little bit tricky, a little bit dicey, a little bit his length plus how good he is blocking is, I think, a real challenge. So I don't know if you see it similarly, but his absence or him it being far less than 100% is of significant concern to me if I am a Missouri fan.
Well, he's big time. He's a big time player.
He is.
And that doesn't mean that he's super dynamic, and people may mistake that, but he is important. He is physical. He's obviously got a gigantic catch radius. He's just a huge help to whoever's in at quarterback, and if he can't go, it can be a tough break for Mizzou. I'll go A&M here. I just don't think Missouri is going to be able to score enough. I think they can complicate things. I think the run game, even though Elko has, I think, been pretty successful against this about every time he's faced it, can still find some things just because Hardy and company are that good and all the window dressing, eye violation, movement stuff you're going to get. But ultimately, I don't think they can score enough to keep up in this game. I'll take A&M to cover the 6.5, actually.
Oh, okay. All right. I think A&M actually doesn't cover, but I think it's because it's a really low-scoring game. I'm not sure 100% why.
Under the 48.5 for you?
Yes. I like under. I like low scoring. I think Mizzou will bow up. I think Mizzou will play well. I really do. I think Mizzou will play really well. But I also think that A&M is probably just going to overwhelm them a little too much. And then don't rule out the possibilities of the kicking game having a factor in this game as well. Like, that also is something that I'd be super, super mindful of because of how dynamic the return man is and Concepcion. And we don't talk a ton about special teams, but I could see special teams being a factor in this game.
And you're kicking in a construction site on one end, so it's always complicated.
That's true. You don't want to hit the guy that's on the crane, so that can have a factor in your head.
I think they give them Saturdays off, but either way, you don't want to have to deal with that.
Nah.
That's speaking of eye violations, kickers kicking in construction sites. We don't give that enough credence here on the show. I don't think those poor guys got to kick into cranes and nets and jackhammers and who knows what's happening.
I'm telling you, I've always been real concerned about cranes, construction sites, and jackhammers.
Listen,
it's a real problem.
We had it at Vandy like the last 2 or 3 years. Now we got it at Mizzou. Maybe these kids are getting used to it. I mean, it's not near as problematic as we thought. And it's just now, it's kind of like playing on the road, playing in construction. No big deal. Do you think how do you mimic this at practice, by the way? Do you get guys to put the little orange vest and a hard hat on and walk around behind the uprights?
Yeah, I think that's what you have to do. You have to. I mean, I'm sure, knowing it's an SEC school, I'm sure there's some type of construction going on in College Station. So you just do what you gotta do. You go find that construction site. Maybe they're building a dorm, and you just make the kicker try to kick into the dorm.
I like that. Yep. Well, if you're trying to construct,
why not, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're trying to construct your jewelry collection, who do you need to go see?
Oh, that'd be Bromberg's. Bromberg's the very best. And with it being the Christmas season, time now is to kind of go in and check it out. Make it a Christmas to remember with a custom piece of jewelry from Bromberg's. The master jeweler, Philip Flanagan, can handcraft something truly one of a kind that's designed just for you or someone that you love. Whether it's reimagining an heirloom or creating a brand new design, a custom piece from Bromberg's is a gift that tells your story. Visit Bromberg's in Mountain Brook or the Summit to make this holiday season unforgettable. They're the very best for 190 years. Go check them out. It's Bromberg's.
I'm glad you brought that up, that it's the Christmas season, because I have a question about that next, right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in, McElroy, Cubelic in the morning. Greg brought it up before we went to break. Christmas season is here. So I have this question for you all and those listening. You can tweet in at Mac and Cube. You can text in 205-834-9450. If you don't want to call in, 800-239-9569 if you do. What is too early for Christmas decorations? What is the proper timeline to decorate your home for Christmas?
Pre-Halloween.
So you guys have had Christmas up at your home?
No, we have not. It goes up, actually, on my wife's birthday, which is November 18th. That's when we do Christmas. That's like our little holiday tradition.
Happy birthday, honey. You get to decorate.
No, it's not like that. But the Christmas lights go on the house. The tree goes up, and we decorate usually on, her birthday night or that week.
Do you do the service with the Christmas lights that they do now? Like they come and put them all up for you?
Yes.
Got it. So she doesn't have to.
You've been to my
she doesn't
house.
have to go. She doesn't have to
You
go.
want me to go up there on that roof?
She doesn't have to go get the Tupperware
want me to
bins
go
in
up on
the
that
attic and
roof?
whatnot and get on the ladder.
You might. I don't know.
No. My roof is a little steeped. I'm not sure that it would be wise for me to get up there.
Falling builds character, Greg.
It does, but falling from 30 feet, probably not going to – it's going to build some character, all right. Not going to end well for me, I don't think.
All right, so I did not expect us to have an actual day for this, like date that hits every year. Greg does. John, where are you going with this? Christmas decorations up at the house. When?
Decorations are usually, it's the weekend after, or the days after Thanksgiving. The tree goes up November 1st, but it's a fake tree. We have lights on. If that goes up November 1st, but it's not decorated, all that starts after Thanksgiving. Usually it would be Black Friday or that Saturday, but we're all kind of busy, so we usually wait till that Sunday.
See, that's what brought this on. My wife and I went for a walk in the evening earlier this week, and there were like 4 houses, Christmas tree in the window, fully decked out, ready to go. Now, exterior decorations, only one house that we saw with like the garland over the entryway.
Really?
Like the thing. Oh, yeah. Like fully ready to go Christmas. It was like aggressive.
Okay.
But I'm not against it. I kind of asked my wife, like, so why are we not going full Christmas yet? Damien, where are you on Christmas decorations being up?
I'm at least after Thanksgiving. I listen to Christmas music. I listen to Christmas music as soon as it.
Oh, that started.
Yeah, as soon as
they
it gets cold
switch.
outside.
Yeah.
When did it get cold again?
About a week ago.
I didn't feel that. So
It
waiting
didn't stay cold. It got cold.
it got
It just
cold.
didn't
Yeah.
stay.
A day of cold.
By the way,
weather
Once it
we
gets
had.
below 60,
Come Monday, whoo.
Yeah,
I saw that.
some
Yeah.
Christmas cheer.
Whoo.
Should I say that word for Monday? Maybe.
Frigid.
No. There's another word that is sometimes not allowed in this part of the country that I've heard for Monday. Allegedly.
I think you'll find it one way or the other where you're going to be.
Yeah.
Put that on top of these travel alerts.
Yeah.
It's a fair question of will I get home Monday?
We'll see you Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Paul, just leave the studio lights on. I'm going to need a bunk here.
So my wife's answer to the question was, she's like, I love Thanksgiving so much that I don't want to do Christmas before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Like she has legitimate Thanksgiving decorations up and
Right,
around
yeah.
the house. So all that is definitely going full swing. And she's kind of with you, Damien and Saber, like after Thanksgiving, maybe not like immediately the next morning, but the next few days you kind of get it all going and get Christmas out there. So, all right, just curious because I saw a few people driving around that are like, it's out now. It's going. Christmas full speed ahead.
And when I see that or hear the Christmas music now, I feel like, again, that's a bit much. Yet I go home and my Christmas tree's already up. So I'm like, all right, I feel like I can't really talk much about this.
But I also don't mind it if you're putting that much effort into it. Like this one guy's house in South Carolina, I don't know if I sent you guys a video of that. He has like all the animatronic Halloween stuff in his yard. I bet he has over 200 of them.
Wow.
He had a big yard. I mean, I'm telling you,
It's like a
I'm
fall
very
festival.
interested in the electricity capacity of how, because most of them move.
Yeah.
Like how many extension cords, how many generators, how long did it take you to plug these in, how long did it take you to stand them up? I'll go find the video and send it to you guys during the break. It is extensive. So if you're going to put that much effort into it, like that guy September 1st should have had all these things
Oh,
out.
yeah.
If that's the effort level we're
right
talking
after
about.
Labor Day. Just hop on
Exactly.
in.
Like if you're fully decked out for Christmas, I don't blame you for wanting to go a full 2 months with it
There's a
and leave it up till February.
100%.
yeah. There's
It's
a
not
house.
cheap either.
No.
Mm-mm.
There's a house not too far from me that not only does all of that, but they have the repeater or whatever where you can park and like tune to a radio station
Yeah,
and have the
that's-
music going.
I've
Yeah.
always wondered how you do
Yeah.
that.
Wow.
Do they own the radio station?
No, you can
The
have
radio
like
station
a.
has nothing better to do than
Well,
say,
I mean, it's kind of dead.
Johnny Wilson's house. We're going to link up to that, and you can go watch his
The
light
signal
show.
itself has nothing on it in that area, so you can buy a repeater. I forgot whatever it's called, and you can it only goes like 100 feet or so. So it's not
How
all that
much for
far.
a month's package, guys? Of what? Like how many commercials? No. We want the whole thing for a
The
month.
whole thing.
Okay, but
All of it.
like weekend rate is no. You know, we want 24/7, November 18th to December 26th.
Yeah, they're not
How
taking
much?
over Hot or Magic. I mean, taking over station ain't no one listening to.
I'm not going to say they couldn't. If the price was right.
Well, I mean,
It's all right.
that costs a lot though.
Y'all could link jocks to your lights for the right price. I'm just telling you. Welcome to radio. I'm just,
Like you're just trying to see some Christmas lights.
tell me
you getting
Tim Cook
slot
rolls in here and
protection.
says he wants his house linked to jocks for the entire Christmas season.
And if those things
can
are
happen.
those things are LED linked,
Yeah,
all
it
of a
could-
sudden you see the pumpkins going, I don't care what he does, Paul.
Yeah.
slide
You never
protection on
know.
the lights.
All right. So I
Seems
just
simple to me.
yeah, get it done. I'm just interested in kind of Christmas decorations, where people are. Kind of, I don't mind it. I mean, I'm all for having it go that way, but it's just, one of those things. Are you drying your hair, Greg?
I'm not. There's people outside my office right now that are vacuuming. It's very loud.
Gotcha.
Why wouldn't you vacuum on Friday during radio?
God.
I mean, go for it.
I mean, I've never been here this early.
Okay.
But hey, it's we're gonna have to go tell them to stop here in the break. But good news is we're at the top of the hour here in just a minute. We
Well,
get taken care of.
Then that is good news. You guys know if you need a new vehicle for the Christmas season, maybe you want that to be the Christmas gift for the special someone in your life. By the way, I've always thought that's completely bogus, like the giant bow on the car, like the certain car companies that do that every year. Like, oh,
Whoa,
look,
hang
here's a
on.
car. Oh yeah, I think we've talked about this.
Don't
You've
you
actually
dare.
done this before. I forgot.
Yeah.
I did because I don't think it's a real thing. I remember you told us you've done this, right? You did that one time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Done it.
Where did you get the bow? Or did you put like a regular gift
Uh,
bow
they-
on top of it?
Hilariously, they actually had it at the place that we got the car
No, if
in
you're,
Charlotte.
if you're them,
Dealership.
you've got
It's
to.
called a dealership.
You've got to have it. You've got to.
The big one or the regular?
Just
The
a
big one, of course.
Be
I
careful
actually
of
did
that
No,
it.
the
sunroof.
standard
know
has
that
been
they-
Be
set.
careful of that sunroof.
Little bitty one.
The
hood.
dealership will absolutely, if you want a bow, they'll find you a bow. All you gotta do is buy the car. Piece of cake.
Although I'm pretty sure that dealership, and it's not like, Kia or something.
No,
Some
I
other
bet
one. Yeah.
Royal Automotive's got a bow. Every vehicle has gone through rigorous inspection at their pre-owned dealership for cars, trucks, or SUVs. Visit Royal Automotive to choose from a massive selection that includes almost every make and model. You need to sell your ride? Royal will buy it as well. My friends at Royal Automotive make it quick, easy, and convenient to sell your car right away. No appointment needed. Royal will go to you no matter where you are buying or selling. Skip Marketplace, avoid shady meetups or getting ghosted. Royal Automotive, exit 252 or I-65 meets Highway 31 in Vestavia, and online at royalautomotive.net. Back with more Max Ball Friday next.